And what about the international dimension? Now, let's think about Starlink. Starlink is obviously a very, very good internet service. It's sought after all over the world. It's critical to the front line in Ukraine. It has also had more contracts coming its way, and there is some evidence that companies are allowing access to it because they want to be close to the Trump administration and send the right signal. So Bloomberg broke news today that the South African government is working around the rules on black ownership in order to allow Starlink in, and that is being done on the eve of the visit that President Ramaphosa is going to make to the White House. Do you recognize that as a conflict of interest?
No, of course not. First of all, you should be questioning why are there racist laws in South Africa? That's the first problem. That's what you should be attacking. It's improper for there to be racist laws in South Africa. The whole idea with what Nelson Mandela, who was a great man, proposed was that all races should be on an equal footing in South Africa. That's the right thing to do, not to replace one set of racist laws with another set of racist laws, which is utterly wrong and improper. So that's the deal, that all races should be treated equally, and there should be no preference given to one or the other. Whereas there are now 140 laws in South Africa that give that basically give strong preference to if you're a black South African, and not otherwise. And so now I'm in this absurd situation where I was born in South Africa but cannot get a license to operate in Starlink because I'm not black.
Well, it looks like that's about. Looks like that's about to change.
I just asked you a question. Please answer. Does that seem right to you?
Well, those rules were designed to bring.
Yes or no?
Those rules were designed to bring about an era of more economic equality in South Africa, and it looks like the government has found a way around those rules for you.
I asked you a question.
This is your interview. Everyone wants to hear from you.
I asked you a question. Yes or no?
Not
Racist
for me.
Laws, yes or no?
Not for me to answer. I have got a question for you about your government work though and the amount of savings.
Why do you like racist laws?
This is not for me to answer. Come on.
Yes, it is.
Now, you wouldn't be trying to dodge a question.
You have to ask the question. I answer my question. No, you answer mine.
I think if you... I'm sure you can have that conversation directly with the South African government if you want to. I want to ask you about the total...
I can't believe it. That's not good.
It's not only white farmers. It's across the board. And we need technological help. We need Starlink at every little police station. We need drones.
The Minister, who's also currently in Parliament at the moment, what are your thoughts on Starlink? Do you support it coming to South Africa?
Well, Starlink, as you know, is a subsidiary of SpaceX, Elon Musk's company, who is developing this low-orbit satellite to enhance connectivity, particularly in rural areas and in areas that are not easily accessible by your mobile telephone companies. So that is the business model that he has put up. Now, many people believe that we went to Washington to discuss Starlink. That is not so. The issue of Starlink never even came up in the discussions that we had in the White House with President Trump, notwithstanding the fact that Elon Musk was there as part of the US delegation. So it wasn't discussed. The process of having low orbit satellites providing Wi-Fi and internet connectivity is known in South Africa. We've been through that. And there are quite a number of other companies, Chinese companies, European companies, and Russian companies, and many others, and local companies who are interested in getting into that space. So people tend to focus on one company only, and yet we've got a plethora of companies that would want to get into this space. So the environment to enhance or enable investment to happen in that space is precisely what needs to be properly crafted, properly permitted to enable that to happen. So the process that the Minister has unleashed is a process that is going to elicit a lot of comment from the public, from various key stakeholders, including current role players in the sector. So that in itself is going to exhibit the true democratic process in our country, that when something new, something that is topical or even desirable has to be flighted or implemented or initiated, it's got to be supported by a lot of discussion, by role players, even by ordinary people. So this is what is good about our country. Nobody ever stands on any platform and says, I'm going to do this. This is not an emperor's land or a dictator's land where you do whatever you like. Our democracy dictates that it has to be by the will of the people, by the involvement of the people, and by their wishes. So that's precisely what is going to ensue with this.
Days after the high-stakes sit-down between President Cyril Ramaphosa and US President Donald Trump, the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies announced the gazetting of possible amendments to the BBBEE policy in the ICT sector. The DA has applauded this move, saying it will pave the way for drastic changes in the provision of internet in South Africa.
The move by Minister Malatsi on the proposed amendments to the country's ICT legislation. The historic lack of political will and failure to amend legislation has delayed our development. This has hindered access to the economy for many South Africans. We call on all South Africans to use this opportunity to make their views known and to help ensure that their voices are heard during this historic period.
Not everyone shared similar sentiments. The EFF argued it bypasses South Africa's broad-based black economic empowerment laws to favour foreign companies like Starlink, and has promised it will challenge the proposed amendments in Parliament and the courts.
Concern is a clear national security threat posed by Starlink, as its owner has secured a manipulation of the laws of a country through the use of disinformation and by exerting his power and influence over the President of the US. To surrender our telecommunication capabilities and allow him access and control in a country he is accused of a genocide is a threat to our nation.
Party has demanded the immediate suspension of the Gazette and transparency on stakeholder consultations, as well as a parliamentary review. ANC Chairperson of Communications and Digital Technology in Parliament, Kusela Diko, took to X, raising suspicion that the correct channels were not utilized in gazetting such a proposal. However, these proposals are but one step in a long journey until it is greenlit for implementation. Zara Groenewald, SABC News.